I dropped out of high school at the age of 15 to go all in on business, and this is why. See, I'd been working on social media and business in general since I was 12 years old, and at the age of 15 is the first time I kind of ever got a big break. Making videos on Snapchat started to blow up and was paying me thousands of dollars. And it was so much money, in fact, that in our first month of Snapchat at 15, we ended up personally making well over $250,000 in profit. Now, as a 15-year-old who'd never made any serious money in the world before, getting this all thrown at him in just 1 month whilst going to school was insane. I'd never experienced anything like this, and I don't think anybody else has either. But making money isn't the only thing that changed. See, I was working with people who lived in America, from my editors, designers, and even my business partner at the time. And seeing as I live in Cyprus, which is a country on the European time zone, I would literally have to stay up until 5 or 6 a.m. every night to crush out these videos, as I would edit all of them. It got to the point where I was consistently sleeping at 5, 6 a.m. and waking up at 7 for school. And to be honest with you, I actually went through with the schedule for months on end because I knew there was no other option. I wasn't going to give up on school and I wasn't going to give up on business, at least so I thought. See, trying to balance a literal hour of sleep every single day whilst running a business doing $500,000 a month in revenue at just 15 is something that you can't really prepare yourself for. And seeing as I was trying to get good grades at school and be there mentally to have fun with my friends and enjoy my time, I slowly started pretty much deteriorating. I remember there would be times where I would literally daydream in class for hours on end, and by the end of it, I wouldn't hear a single thing that was taught in the lesson. And as I was going through all of this, I would then go back home simply to work again and restart the cycle. The grind was on another level, and to be honest with you, it would not have been worth it if we weren't making the amount of money that we did. But going from making $2,000 to $3,000 a month at 13 or 14 years old to making hundreds of thousands, I knew this was an opportunity that I could simply not throw away. And the reason for that is because less than 0.5% of people on this earth get something like that. It's probably even less than 0.5%, to be honest, considering I was 15 years old. But as I continued with this, I even tried to find solutions with the teachers at the school. I tried cutting my classes to be shorter or switching around time so that I could maybe come in later, still get some hours of sleep and learn. But no one would budge at all. This is one thing I really do not like about the school system, and it's the fact that you're there to supposedly succeed, and when there's finally a student doing something that is seen as impossible and making tons of money, they wouldn't even bend the knee a little bit to help me out in any way. They actually told me to cut back on my work because it wasn't going to last long, specifically to focus more of my time on school. But at the same time, I now understand why so many people are starting to take risks with business simply because of situations like this. But as the situation continued on like this for more time to come, I slowly started to remove the hope from my mind that I was going to be able to balance school and business. The momentum I had was on another level, and so I thought to myself that now was at the point where I either quit my business and focus all my efforts back on school, or I take honestly the biggest risk any kid could take and put all of his effort in a business that he doesn't even know will last or could turn into something bigger. And just to preface what I'm about to say, 6 to 8 months after I left school to put all of my eggs in Snapchat, everything completely shut down and I had to pivot business models entirely. You guys would not be seeing me today if I didn't manage to effectively move into software, YouTube Shorts, and all those other types of businesses that are now making me more money than ever. But at the time, Snapchat was all I had. And that whole situation honestly had me debating going back to school entirely. I mean, imagine putting all your eggs in this one basket just for it to all go to absolute shit. Anybody in my position, I think, would have gone back to the safe route, and I was very close to doing so, getting enrolled back in classes, going back to see the head teacher, and it almost felt like a major loss to me, as if everything I'd put my risk in was nowhere to be found. And that was honestly probably the safest thing to do as well. I didn't do it because I don't really have too much of a risk tolerance, but hey, I wouldn't blame anyone for doing it myself. But one thing I realized is that if I actually had gone back, then that would have pretty much meant that I surrendered and that I gave up and I didn't believe in myself. I'd already taken the leap to leave. I'd already also taken the leap to basically disregarding all my teachers. If I'd gone back now, I could only imagine what the environment and culture would be like with me there. It would have been honestly one of the weirdest things ever. Everybody side-eyeing me in the hallways after I'd already given my speech as to why I'd left. Overall, It just would not have been very ideal. And I don't want you guys to confuse what I'm saying with the fact that you should drop out of school, because to be very honest with you, I don't recommend it for anybody. The case that I had was 1 in a million, and so I could never give the same advice for this topic specifically, simply because it could almost just never happen again. So if you're coming here hoping for a story on how you should drop out as well, I really don't recommend you should. Unless you're running a business that is doing over 100,000 a month in profit that you know almost guaranteed is going to last you for years to come. That is the only situation where I could physically see it being justified to drop out of school. But what I did is burn the boats. And that's a quote I've lived by since I was literally 13 or 14. Burning the boats is where you give yourself nearly no other option but to succeed. If I had dropped out of school and not succeeded with business, I would now not be able to get into any university. I would have no in real life job, and the one life that I have would have potentially just fully gone to waste. But by being so confident in myself and burning the boats, I managed to succeed. But the story here actually gets way more interesting when you realize that even if I didn't want to leave school, I would have probably gotten kicked out regardless. And the reason for this is because I had to travel a lot during this little period of business starting to boom. And with that, my attendance sucked. And the two ways schools usually decide whether you stay in or get kicked out is how good your grades are and how long you actually go to school for. And to be honest with you, with the amount I was traveling, I was only at school for like 5 days or less a month, which meant that I was one of the people who would have probably gotten kicked out, which is insane to see. And when I say probably gotten kicked out, I mean almost definitely. The school was in the process of making sure that I was not going to be there for the next year because I'd only really been there for like 10% of the entire grade. This means that I didn't learn any of the curriculum. I didn't know any of the things they were teaching to the other students. I was basically obsolete to these people. So I wouldn't say I got threatened to get kicked out, but what I do know is that I would not have made it another year because they would pretty much forced my hand to simply leave. And all these things put together, honestly, is what just kind of made me understand that there was no option in the first place. I kind of scuffed myself from the beginning because of how seriously I took the business that I had. And so whether I were to stop that business or let go of it and try to go back to school, my academic career was pretty much toasted anyways, which looking back now is a bit scary to think about if none of this had worked out. But I was so confident in the vision and the fact that I was going to be able to make it happen that, you know, I let go of all the smart receptors I had in my head and just fully divulged myself into the dream that I had, which was to make it in this entire space. Even on top of that though, trying to imagine what my parents were going through, seeing their 15-year-old kid booming in business, but also now wanting to drop out of school is one of the most insane things. To myself, I had no doubt that I was going to succeed at all. But from my parents' perspective, this was probably one of the scariest times of their life, seeing their 15-year-old son wanting to leave education as a whole. I mean, this is what they work hard for, to put me in school. That point was also a really dark point of the relationship I had with my parents for this reason simply. I had a vision and I was executing on it, but so did they, and we never really met eye to eye until I finally pulled the trigger and dipped with their permission. See, obviously I had my parents' permission to drop out of school, but the deal that we made was that if business didn't end up working out, I would 100% have to go back. And funnily enough, a few months after I dropped out to go all in on Snapchat, it pretty much all crumbled to zero, which gave me two options: to either honor the deal and go back to school, or keep what happened a bit of a secret and go all in on starting something new, which I did when I started these YouTube Shorts channels and Creo. And now at this point in my life, it's been around 1.5 years since I first dropped out of high school. I own multiple companies doing close to $1 million a month in revenue now, and there's no real sign for high school for me, to be very honest with you. I know a lot of you watching my videos are in your young 20s, late teens, so I just want to give this message to you that you can still balance education and business. And I'm actually going to be hosting for the first time ever a completely free live class on Sunday, the 22nd of September, where I'm going to be going over how to make money with shorts, where I'm going to be going over how to make money with YouTube, everything to do with that business model, and it's going to be completely live for you guys to be able to ask me questions, etc., all for free. I've never really done anything like this before, but a lot of people have asked me to do more one-to-one stuff for you guys, so let's do it. If you guys want to join, just click the link below in the description, and I'm excited to see all of you there. And this story should be here to motivate you, to tell you that it's literally possible for anyone. I love you guys. Peace.